every phase of your funnel, every step of your funnel should require a decision to move forward. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Midweek Modern Craftsman. We are on week 12 of the year. I don't know how the heck that happened. First quarter is coming to a close. Week 12. Impressive. Trying to stay on track, working our way through this business type of thing. The main podcast is a little bit different this week. I went up to Boston, toured Nick's White Oak project, then went to JLC. And the angle for that podcast, which you guys should definitely give a listen to, is how to be using those shows to benefit your business. And this is not solely for people who have 1 million Instagram followers. You could not have a social media. You could just be somebody who's doing work, who wants to create content for these companies, who wants to help them market themselves. There's so many opportunities that you may not even be thinking of that I didn't even consider until I got involved with this more and started expanding my business outside of just swinging a hammer. So check that out. Definitely a ton of information in there that can help you leverage these relationships and these shows and use them as an opportunity to really build your business and legitimize your business and market your business that may not cost you much money at all. But on the business side of things, still doing a handful of consulting. A lot of the conversations that I'm having here revolve around that consulting and conversations that I have. And something that came up with a consulting client recently, which if you are interested, normally a couple of weeks out, I have regulars who are doing consulting every couple weeks, so I can usually fit you in pretty quickly. But if you're interested, shoot me an email, tyler@trghomeconcepts.com, and we can discuss what that looks like. I can walk you through my process, what the deliverables are, what the fee is, all that stuff. But today, I want to talk about your pipeline, how you're managing your pipeline, how you're handling leads, what type of time you're spending on them, how to protect your time. Ultimately, for me, I'm a very small scale contractor. I do not have a ton of burden built into my numbers. I don't have layers of people to absorb inefficiencies. I have a very specific client base. I have a very specific type of job and work that I do, and every hour of my time matters. If I'm not capturing that time, I'm losing money, and that's very simple. And I'm honestly shocked that it took me so long to figure that out. It wasn't until a few years ago. The smaller you are, the less burden you have, the less slag you have in your numbers, the more important it is to ensure that you are capturing every one of your hours. And that's on the work side of things, that's on the invoicing side of things, and that's also on the pre-construction, the marketing, the funnel. You're wearing a lot of hats. You have to make sure that you're capturing your hours. I would speak for most of us in residential construction. Obviously, there are some anomalies. There are some people that fit outside of this box that I'm creating. But when you look at businesses, when you look at companies outside of residential construction, they can be massive. And for the most part, even if you have 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 4 dozen employees, we are all very small businesses in the big picture. When you look at other industries, other companies, the size, the scale, the systems, we are all very small businesses. And the smaller you are, the more critical it is to ensure you are not conceding time and you are not forfeiting hours. Again, even if you have 100 employees, when you look at the grand scale and the grand scheme of industry and business, we are so small scale. We are tiny little companies, and you have to make sure that you're not losing money through inefficiency, through slag, through burden, through redundancy. So the all of those things are going to cost us a ton of time, a ton of money, and prevent us from being as profitable as we need to be. So let's start right from the top, right? often this chaos, the issues that we run into when we are developing a pipeline, when we're fielding leads, when clients reach out to us, we're often blaming the clients. We're blaming the type of jobs. We're blaming the market. We're blaming the people who are referring us, when realistically we have to look internally. And I've learned that in life, and I've learned that in business, that it's so easy to point your fingers elsewhere. It's so easy to say, well, it's because of this, it's because of that, when realistically, if you want something to change, you have to look inward. You have to address it from a personal perspective, even in business. So it's not the bad clients. It's not that you have too many leads. It's not that you don't have the right amount of leads. It's that your system is flawed, that your process is flawed, that your marketing is not sufficient, or it's not structured for your business. So the chaos is self-inflicted. And the sooner that you hold yourself accountable, again, life, business, really no different here. It could be relationship based, right? It's this person's fault. It's that person's fault. Sure, I can put the blame elsewhere. The sooner that I reflect on myself, the sooner that I make a change internally, the better and the more progress I'm going to make. And again, that's life, that's personal, that's relationships, that's also business. So you need to look inward. What are the issues within your system that are creating this chaos? So is it that you don't have an intake process? Are you fielding random DMs, text messages, emails? Are you corresponding with all of these people in all different directions? Are you hopping on a phone call with every single person who reaches out to you? Are you doing site visits before qualifying that client? Are you sending out ballpark numbers without much context, without engaging them in pre-construction services? Are you constantly trying to chase people down to make a decision, to respond to your proposal? Do you have a lot of jobs that are just alive, and you're waiting for those leads to either fall through the cracks and dissipate, or for them to come to fruition? So what part of the process is flawed? Is it all of this? Do you need to start from the top? Do you need to rebuild your entire system to understand how to move forward? So those are just some ways that I've had systems fall, that I've struggled with intake and managing leads, and just come to the realization that I'm not hitting the mark with these things. So to me, it's like you have to develop the system. All aspects of the like, I'm fine with DMs coming in. I'm fine with people text messaging me. I'm fine with phone calls. But what's my system look like? It has to be the same. I can't just field some calls and then intake those leads that way and then do some via Instagram. It all has to lead to one spot, whether it's leading, like a great way is send them to your website. Have an intake form on your website that then kicks to your email. That's the easiest way to do this. You can also just have them go directly to your email. But for me, get the website developed, send them to your website. They then are looking at the work that you do. That it leads them to reviews, it leads them to videos, it leads them to your Instagram account, your LinkedIn. All like your website is keeping them immersed in your business, and they're self-educating, and then they have the intake form. So it doesn't matter where these leads come in, but you need to tie them all back to the same place. There needs to be a system. Once the lead comes in, what's the next step? What's the qualifying questions? What are your demands? What are your needs? What do they need to do to get to the next step? What do they need to do before you give them a price? Educate them on what that system looks like so that you're avoiding having to answer questions independently of each lead that comes in, that they understand, they can self-educate, and they can walk themselves through this process without needing a ton of input or resources from you on your end. You're going to save yourself time, you're going to save yourself money, and you are going to create a funnel that leads the right clients toward you. Then you just have to market people to get them into the top of that funnel, which should be fairly large, capturing as many people as possible, and then distilling them down to your ideal client. So what's a good pipeline? A pipeline, I just said you have to create the steps of the pipeline, right? Where are they starting? How are they getting there? What's that process look like? What are the steps? But you have to realize that they're not just steps, they also have to be gates. They have to prevent people from getting through them in a polite, kind manner, right? We don't want to be rejecting potential clients. We don't want to be leaving them with a bad taste in their mouth. But every phase of your funnel, every step of your funnel should require a decision to move forward. If there's no decision, if they have not provided you with the answer, with the information, the project, the lead, the intake should not advance. So you have your inquiry. Are they meeting your criteria? If they do, what's the next step, right? Maybe it's a phone call. You hop on a phone call. Are they aligned with regard to your process? Does the budget make sense? No? Okay. Sorry. Here's where we cut ties, obviously in a polite, compassionate manner. You don't want to just be rejecting these leads. If they do, what's the next step? Maybe it's a site visit. Then we ask the question, are they committed enough to invest some time, some money? If they are, pre-con. If they aren't, again, compassionate disconnection between them. If your pipeline feels as though it's unmanageable, if it feels as though it's messy, it's because you have not developed the system. You have not developed the steps. You have not created the gates to open up for the right client and close for the wrong client. So again, this is on you. What does my pipeline look like? So things have changed over the years. Initially, when I was using my social media, my Instagram to market my business more than market the social end of things, it was my Instagram was my funnel. I was able to collect a really wide range of potential clients through my funnel, and then I needed to filter them out. So I had the website made. I stayed on top of the website. I created the intake form. At this point now, my process is a little bit different because I am doing less field work. I'm focusing on the podcast. I'm focusing on social partnerships, building my own house, all those things. But that's just where my business has taken me. So my process is a little bit different. But for you guys and girls who are still or always have been just in, I need to sell remodeling work, I need to sell new builds, you need to create the funnel. This is what my funnel always looked like for me and always worked. It was to market myself as effectively as possible with as little resources, time, money, investment on my behalf. Again, widening the disparity between the cost of work that I was putting in place and the work that I was selling to create higher margins. So using my social to market myself, then leading them to my website. From my website, there was an inquiry form with a list of questions. I got those questions. Then I could decide how to reach out to them via email, gather more information, create a more personal touch to that if they realized that they were a good fit, right? Explain to them my process and where I would not veer off of that process, right? My areas where I would never compromise. That's going to turn a ton of clients off and they're going to walk away at that point. If they're still interested in that point, they understand what I do, they understand my price point, they understand my lead time, they understand the area that I want to work in, the way that I work, then it's the next step where I can start educating them on, hey, here's what it would look like for a pre-construction aspect of this. Here's an example of a pre-construction. Here's what this costs. This is an independent fee. At that point, a lot of people are going to say no. They're going to want to go elsewhere. But when I find the handful of clients that are good with that, at that point, it's signing up for a pre-construction more often than not before I've ever stepped foot on their job or met them in person. So I'm going from social to website. Website has questions that are all gates that are open or close them. If they get through those gates, then it goes to an actual email. This is the next step. The next line of gates that I'm going to have that are open or closing the door to bring them down further into the funnel. If they pass that, then I use the next gate, the next step to introduce my pre-construction, what my pre-construction looks like, and what the typical costs are for that. Again, gate opens, gate closes. If the gate opens, at that point, it's sending them a proposal for pre-construction. If I feel the need or if they want to meet in person to sign that and go over it, we do it. But I've just saved myself a ton of time. I've created a funnel that can self-qualify people, that can compassionately and politely decline my services, or the need to move forward in this process with my clients. So that's a process and a system that always worked really, really well for me. It was a quintessential funnel. My social was big. I was able to collect a ton of leads, and I was able to distill them down to the few that I needed per year for the type of clients, the type of jobs that make sense for me and my program. And I based all the marketing around finding those clients that want what I do, who they are, what their demographics are, how they make their decisions, and I market myself accordingly. That was the impetus for my entire social, for how I was attracting clients, how is it getting them into my funnel, and then how I was allowing them to self-qualify and move their way down. My goal was never to sell every client on a job. It was not to upsell them. It was just to ensure that they aligned with my process. You can do that however you want. If you feel that you get better answers from a phone call, by all means, phone call's fine. If you feel that DMing people or having a Zoom call or meeting them in person, sure, that's fine. To me, I've always felt that I get the answers that I need, and I'm able to ask the questions that at times can be more difficult in person via email. I can be more blunt. I can be more straightforward. I can get right to the chase and not have to sugarcoat things, and it's just a little bit easier for me. It's more straightforward. It's more efficient. I have basically an email draft responded that once they're at that point in my funnel, 90% of those questions are applicable to anyone who meets that point of the funnel. So it's super easy, it's super efficient, and it doesn't consume a lot of my time, and the results are there. They're proven. I'm able to align with the right clients and then detach from the clients who don't fit. I'm trying to protect my clients, and I'm trying to protect myself from wasting time. Obviously, at some point in there, you need to start discussing scope of job. A lot of times I'm asking where they live. I'm asking for photos of their house. I'm asking when they want the project done. If they've worked with other clients before, I let them know that I do not competitively bid. I let them know that I'm time and material. I give them a quick brief on what my pre-construction looks like, how that's a standalone fee. All of these gates that my clients will either close and turn the other way because it doesn't fit their program, or they're going to open it up because it meets their needs and they want to learn more. They want to move ahead with me. They want to take the next step. So all of the questions that you should be creating, all of these steps, all of these gates that you should be creating for your funnel should be specifically and explicitly developed for those reasons. When do I get to the contract? The contract is after pre-construction. So I have a pre-construction agreement, which is essentially a contract, which once they get to the end of my funnel, it's not a work contract, it's a pre-construction contract. Again, a gate, they're going to open the door, they're going to jump headfirst into my pre-construction. That's another gate where if they want to go ahead with a work contract, they will move forward with the work contract. If we don't meet their needs, if we can't meet their needs, if they are not a fit at that point for whatever reason, or if we are not, we can still turn away. They own that package. They can move and take a different direction. But again, my pre-construction is another gate. It's a paid gate because it consumes a lot of our time, but it is another gate before a work contract. So where do I find that most of my clients, most of the people that I speak with go wrong? They're trying to hard sell. They're desperate, so they want to land a job quickly, right? So they're allowing clients to make their way through the funnel that shouldn't. They're skipping steps in the funnel. They are manipulating their funnel to win the job, right? And it's probably not as open and honest and transparent. And they're figuring once they get in their door, they can either convince them of where they need to be, or they can convince them that they need to extend a budget or whatever it may be. they're manipulating their budget or turning a blind eye to certain aspects of these leads that really should be a gate that remains closed. So they're skipping steps in order to win the job. My buddy Nick, this is one of his big issues, is that he lets excitement override the process, right? He gets so excited about jobs. He gets so excited about the opportunity, the architect, the client, the number, that his process sometimes can go out the window. And it's like, you develop the process. The process tells you whether it's a fit or not. If you're going to let that go out the window, then you have no guarantee whether this client's going to be a fit. You have no guarantee if the job's going to be a fit, that you're going to make your money, that they value what they do. You have to stick with the process. The process is in place because you've been in business for how many years? You know what doesn't work. You want to protect your time. You know what does work, and that's why you created a process that's unique to you. My process works for me. That doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. There might be aspects of my process that work for you, but that doesn't mean my entire process is going to work for you. Your process is your process because you've been burnt. You know what creates headaches for you. You know what doesn't work for you, and you know what works for you. So stick to your process. People don't talk about money early enough. They don't talk about what their baseline fees are for a kitchen, a bathroom, an addition, a single-story ranch, a multifamily house, a site development. They don't talk about what those baseline numbers are. So they move down this path only to realize that these clients never valued what they did enough to spend the type of money that it takes for your firm to do that. So have those conversations early and often. Be open, honest, transparent. If you're not, that client is probably not a fit, and they're going to move further down your funnel. They're going to open a gate that was meant to remain closed, and it's going to cost you time, money, credibility, or reputation down the road. Clients being afraid to say no, right? You're afraid to reject people. You're afraid to compassionately let them down. You're afraid to say no to work, to a lead because it's a referral, to an architect, whatever it may be, and you are not in a position to take that job. You're not in a position to move ahead or open that gate up, and you do it, and it's going to do the same thing as just allowing an ill-fitting client or an ill-fitting job to move further down your funnel. It's going to cost you time, money, reputation, headache, everything else. Treating every lead like it is already a client of yours. They are not. There are very few leads that will make their way through the funnel, if you're doing it right, and become a client. Return clients, obviously different. You learn a lot from that. But new leads need to be treated just as that, a new lead. They need to make their way naturally and organically through your funnel. If you skip a step, you are not speeding things up. Remember that. You are delaying the problems. If you skip a step, you are not speeding things up, which is what you're trying to do. You are just delaying the problem, which may be a immense and tremendous problem that you're going to carry for a really long time. So what are some of the hidden costs that we might not realize with this funnel chaos and just not having systems in place? Again, I'm a really small contractor. I need to get paid for my time. So the more time I spend on chasing leads or walking my potential clients through a funnel that I don't have systemized, the more money it costs me. The less things I can do with my time, the less I can enjoy my life, the less profit I'm making. And a lot of times that's a hidden cost because you're not accounting for that when you look at your tax return and you think that you did well, but you didn't realize that you spent 900 hours that year chasing leads that's not accounted for. So once you account for that, you're actually far less profitable than you imagined. Emotional drain, right? You get excited about these projects before you understand all the constraints, before they work their way down the funnel, and then you either keep letting them work their way through that funnel because you're so excited about it, you're emotionally invested, and it's a bad business decision, or you get super bummed when it falls through, or you try and force something, which is even worse. You have lower close rates or just projects that don't hit the margins that you need because you're allowing the wrong clients to get through your system. A bad client is not only hurting you now, but it's hurting the marketability, it's hurting your reputation, it's hurting the referrals, so it's hurting you for months and months and years down the road. Especially the smaller you are, the less jobs, the less work you have. One bad client can sink you immediately, and it can wreak havoc on how you are surviving as a company in real time, but it's also going to hurt your lead flow, the next job after that. So what should this feel like if you're doing things right? You should, by the time these clients make their way through the funnel, you should have fewer leads, but they should be better leads. And that's really, really important. You should be qualifying clients to have fewer leads, but they should be much better, stronger, warmer leads. You should have clear steps and clear next steps that your clients understand and can walk themselves through, and it does not require a full-time staff member. It does not require a ton of your time to get them through that process. You don't have to chase clients for answers. If they didn't answer something, if they didn't make it through the hurdle, if they weren't able, they closed the gate and they walked away, that's their answer. You don't have to try and chase them down. You don't have to schedule another meeting. You don't have to hop on a phone call with them. You can spend your time, your effort, your money, your resources, your marketing on the right fitting clients. When your clients understand this initial part of the process, and when you're a professional with this initial part of the process, and when you lead them through a clear and deliberate funnel, they will trust the rest of your process because you have your shit in order from the outset. It's not just about efficiency. It's about developing confidence in your systems and instilling that confidence in your clients. So what I would suggest for all of you who have struggled with this or just feel that you could revamp your system is, and again, even if this is messy, write this down. Write down what your current pipeline looks like. How are clients finding you? What are their steps? How many steps are there? Are there too many steps? Are there too little steps? And then what does your success rate look like? And identify within that system where there are gates that are missing, where there are decisions that are missing, and where you can improve the funnel to gain a better fitting client by the time they get down to it. Maybe your funnel's just too comprehensive and nobody's getting through it. Or you're turning down the right clients and you need to refine your system, or you need to slim it down some. You need to make it a little bit easier. I don't know what end of the spectrum you're on, but write down your current pipeline. Write down what your funnel looks like. Write down what your marketing looks like and refine that. Identify the weak points within your funnel, where you need to make it more robust, where maybe you need to lay off a little bit, and then start adding to it. Add one gate this week. Maybe that's that you have no site visits before you hop on a Zoom call with your clients, if that's what you feel makes sense. If it's a phone call, maybe you say, hey, before I come out, I'd like to hop on a phone call with you and your husband. Let's set 20 minutes aside. That's a hurdle. That's a gate. Some people won't want to do that. It'd just be easier if you came over and met with us. Okay, well, if they can't do that and they're not willing to do that, are they willing to spend $200,000 for you and jump through the rest of your hoops and sign your contract if they're not willing to hop on a 20-minute phone call with you? Ask yourself that. Start adding those gates. Start creating a more robust, more refined funnel that suits you and your business and your needs, and not just what your clients' needs are. And then stick to that. Maintain that. Create a more efficient system that requires less of your time, and then you have to gauge it. You have to take inventory of it. You have to look what it looks like in 3 months, if it's working, if you need to make changes. This is not a one and done, and then constantly refine that. My business has changed. My intake has changed. I'm entertaining less leads now, so it doesn't need to be as systemized as what I did before. I'm not marketing myself to as many people. I'm marketing myself to fewer people, so I have fewer leads to go to because I can do less work. So my intake has changed. My system has changed, but there's still a system to it to preserve my time and make sure that I can capture all my hours. So if you don't have a funnel, if your funnel feels chaotic, if it's not systemized, if it's causing you too much headache, if it's too much work for you, listen to this podcast again. Follow what I tell you to do. Analyze your system. Create gates. Create hurdles. You don't want every single person to make their way through their funnel. I appreciate everyone hanging around. I appreciate everyone listening. If you want to hop on some consulting, shoot me an email, tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. If you have not signed up for the Modern Craftsman Circle community, shoot me an email, tyler@trghomeconcepts.com or hello@moderncraftsman.co, and I will send you a link to sign up for the Modern Craftsman community, which could be monthly. You could save yourself some money and do it yearly. Hop on there and start communicating and collaborating with people who are within that community, including myself and Nick. Better yourself, better your business. Again, if you need that link, shoot me an email or shoot us an email, and I will send that link over to you. It should be in our profile. It should be on the newsletter. If none of those things work for you, then reach out to me. That's my funnel for you, reaching out to me. All right, guys and girls, appreciate it. Everyone that I saw at JLC and spoke with, thanks for stopping. Thanks for saying hi. All our partners, all our vendors, all the people I work with over the years, all the people I've known and met and socialized and networked with over the years. Really great to see everyone. We were only there for a day. I wish I could have spent more time, but just too much stuff going on right now at home that I had to get back on the plane and fly out of there. But it was great to see all of you. I appreciate everyone saying hi. All the support. As always, I will catch you guys next week.